my St. Pius parents and everyone. I am making a video today for your students so that they have this as a reference to clean their brass instrument. Before I left for Thanksgiving break, I had a lot of kids who were coming in and saying that they had just oiled their valves, or I watched them oil their valves, and they were still sticking. If that is happening, usually what that means is that it's time to give your brass instrument a bath. That's a great thing about brass instruments, trombone, trumpet, all those great things. We can actually clean ours. Water, soap, all the good stuff. So I'm going to show you how to break it down, how your student can use this at home. So I'm going to do a trumpet because it's a little more in-depth. Trombone kind of follows the same guidelines. My two trombone students have already gone through this, but I might post a separate video for them. But for right now, let's talk about trumpet. So, trumpet has a lot of different parts on it. It's got multiple slides, the bell here, it's got our valves here, and our mouthpiece. I'm going to break this down and show you how to clean each part. Alright, so I'm going to take the mouthpiece out first and put it to the side. Now, what you want to start with at your house is about maybe 4 inches deep of water in your tub, just enough to cover the trumpet sideways. You really don't need much, but you want lukewarm water, the kind of water that you would be comfortable putting a baby in. So what you want to do, fill the tub. You're going to use a little bit of dish soap. I have Dawn, whatever you have will work. Just fill it up with some dish soap and put the trumpet in there. Now, before you put in your trumpet, you want your student to take out their valves and all their slides, because we're going to give it a really deep clean. So what you want to do, these valves unscrew, and when you unscrew them, most of you are going to notice that there's a number on each one of your valves. Valve 1 is closest to where your mouthpiece is, where your mouth goes. Valve 3 is closest to your bell. You want to keep them in order so you remember to put them back in the right valve casing. So I'm going to take out 1, set it down in front of me, 2, right next to it, and valve 3. And I'm going to put those to the side. I'm not going to put those in the tub. We're going to talk about why in a second. Now, once I've taken those out, you're going to see that these are empty. You can actually take off the bottom as well. These bottom valve casings come off, and there's usually a lot of grime in there, so you can unscrew all of those, take them off, put them in the warm soapy water, let them soak. So once you've taken all of those off, you want to start taking out your slides. Now, your trumpet players are going to have one in the back, closest to where their mouthpiece is, right here. It'll pop right out. You're going to put that in the soapy water. So there's one slide. Slide number 2 is right here. It's really tiny. It just pops out. It's very small. You've got a third slide right here that has a ring key on it. You're going to want to take that out and put it in the soapy water. And then their main slide, which is this big one right here with a spit valve on it, you're going to want to take that out and put it in the warm soapy water. So once your trumpet's completely disassembled, you're going to see all these open holes. You will not be able to play it. You want to put all the slides in the soapy water and the entire trumpet and just let it rest in there for a little bit. Let it soak up the warm water. Now, while that is resting in your warm soapy water, let's talk about how we're going to clean the valves, because that's where a lot of our gunk gets built up. So I'm going to start with valve 1, which I have laid out right here. And with valve 1, you're going to notice these holes right here. A valve on a trumpet is almost identical to pistons on a car. So what you do is you want to clean out these holes in this whole casing right here, because that's where all the grime and the gunk from your child's mouth and just from it being the case builds up over time and makes the valve stick. But you're going to notice on here that there are, right underneath the button, right here, there's a felt. What that felt does is when your student presses down the valve, it keeps the button from clicking against the metal piece right here. It makes it soft and kind of buffers it. So what you want to do is you don't want to get those felts wet. So you're going to take the top button off. It actually just unscrews. And you might want to hold this little metal piece right here that actually holds the button on, and you're going to unscrew it. Once you unscrew it, you're going to see mine come off right now. Let me make sure I hold that. And here it is. Here's the top button that your child actually presses. And here it is without it on it. So I'm going to put the button down on the ground. And I'm actually gonna take this part off right here that has the felt on top. It just slides right off. Put it right underneath the button. And you're also gonna see on my valve, you can see it really well, there is a second felt underneath that, as well as, yours may not be visible, but there's also sometimes a cork right under there. You don't wanna get those wet. It's really gross and it just doesn't sound very good. So what I'm gonna do is I would take the valve, hold it like this, and either swoosh it around in the bath water a little bit or run it under some warm water, making sure not to get this top part wet. And then I take a brush. Now in your cleaning kits you guys got, you probably have one that looks like this or a thicker one that looks like this. Whatever you have, you want to take it, put a little bit of that dish soap that you put in the tub, put it on top of the valve. Then take your brush, line it up with a hole, and turn in and reverse out. And you're gonna do that with every hole on the valve. This one in particular has 3, so I'm gonna do it on all 3. I'm gonna twist in, reverse out, and that's gonna clean all the gunk off the inside of those valves. And your brush is gonna be covered in gross stuff. Just make sure you can brushes it off under the faucet. And then you're gonna rinse this up under the faucet, make sure all the soap's off, you don't want any soap left, and then you're gonna set this to the side to dry. You're gonna follow this same procedure with all 3 valves. And let me show you how I set mine up. I'm actually gonna grab the camera, yay, go on a trip, and show you what it looks like. I lay mine out just like this. So right here, this is actually my 3rd valve I just did. I do button, top casing, and then I lay it to dry. You can actually, if I had it in my house, I usually put a washcloth or a towel on the ground and then lean them up like this against a wall so that all the water drips onto that washcloth. But I make sure I keep them in order on purpose. So, once you've done that, anyways, so as I was saying, you just want to make sure these stay in order so that you are sure to put them back in the trumpet in the correct order. So there they are. I would leave them to dry, disassembled like this, and make sure there's no soap left on them. And while they are drying, we're going to talk about the actual trumpet right here. So my trumpet, obviously I don't have a bathtub in my office, but my trumpet would be soaking in the bathtub. All these slides would be pulled out and over to the side. Let's talk about what we're going to do with these slides. So these slides, slung it out there. These slides, just like your child's valves, they can get gunky, they can get built up on them, and we want to make sure we clean these. So once they've been soaking in the water for a little bit, take some more of that dish soap, and you're going to pour it on the slide. And after you pour it on the slide, you're going to rub it in with your fingers. And it's going to feel greasy because they put that grease on it. It's basically like Vaseline. It's not bad for your hands. So you're just trying to scrub that off. Maybe take an old washcloth, wipe it down. You're going to get probably some black and green stuff off of there just because of the nature of the instrument and the fact it's brass. Once that's happened and you don't feel any grease on it, it's been completely washed off, you're going to rinse it. And you can either use a cup to do this or rinse it under a faucet. And yet again, towels on the floor or something, lean it up against a wall and let it dry. And you're gonna do that for all of the slides. And just one more count, your student should have 1, 2, 3, 4 slides right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, once they've dried and all that good stuff, let's talk about reassembling our trumpet. So once all of this is dry, let's talk about the valves really quick. I'm going to put the camera back so you can see me use my hands so I can show you how I oil a valve and reassemble it the correct way. So, hello. Now, once that has happened, my trumpet's laid out, I've got a dry valve here with absolutely no soap on it. Every inch of it is clean. You can see the inside of those holes are really clean. What I'm going to do is reassemble all my valves. So my felt is already here. Then I've got my top right here that has the second felt on it. I'm just going to slip it right over. Then holding on to this little rod right here, because if you don't, it will actually unscrew from the inside of the valve, which you don't want to do. And you're going to gently screw on the top button. Alright, so it's securely on there. You don't want to do it too tightly because you got to be able to take this off and clean the trumpet again. Once you've done that, my valves are still in order. I've got from my bell to my mouthpiece right here. I'm gonna put in my third valve closest to my bell. And you're gonna notice on your student's valve, somewhere up near the top or down here, you're gonna see a number. Like I told you, 1 was closest to my face, 3 is closest to the bell. You want that number, once you've put it in the right casing, 3 goes in the third casing. I want that number to face me when I'm holding up my trumpet to play. That's how you know it's in correctly. If it's in backwards or even slightly off, you're not going to be able to blow air through here. And I'll give you an example. Here it is in the correct way, so when I blow air through, you actually hear air. But if I were to turn it, those holes that you saw in that valve aren't going to line up with the slides here, and you're not going to be able to blow air through at all or make a sound. So make sure that number is facing your student when they're looking down their trumpet. So there's valve 3. Here's valve 2. And it's facing me. I'm looking, I can see the number. And valve 1. So now that I've got them all placed in, they're all happy and hunky-dory. Now I'm gonna oil it. I know a lot of people like to oil their valves when it's out of the casing. I oil them while they're in. That way all the oil that slips off while I'm pouring it on actually goes back in this casing, so it can actually be used and it's not wasted like laying on the floor. So I take my valve oil, you take it off, and you're going to lift the valve but still keep it in the casing. Now once I've lifted it, I'm just going to kind of go around and give it a thin layer. You're going to see it drip around, but I go all the way around. And then this is what I do that kind of makes a big difference in my valves. I don't just go up and down when I disperse it. I twist my valve around to make sure it's coating all the way around the inside. And that really, really helps. Now once you've done that, make sure the number's right back in the same place. Then I'm going to hold my button so that I know the inside doesn't twist, and I'm going to tighten this on. And that's how I oil all of my valves. You just want to make sure you lift it, keep it in the casing, pour a little oil on, twist it to disperse it, make sure you get it right in the back space that's supposed to be, push it down, and screw it on. Now once you've done this, you're going to have all your valves in. Make sure you put those bottom caps back on. All the oil's on, all the valves are oiled because you've washed everything off, so you definitely want to oil them. And that is your valves. Now to make sure you've got them in the right way, just have your student blow. They don't need a mouthpiece. You should be able to hear air coming through there. If no air is coming out, then they're probably a little twisted. So we're good. All of the slides now, let's talk about the slides. Your student probably had in their kit as well tuning grease. It's either going to come in a little container like this or in like a chapstick tube. It's very similar to chapstick. What you're going to do, just going to take some, just like with chapstick, put it on your finger or take the little tube, and you're going to coat your slides here, okay, with a little bit of grease. And I'll actually do mine right now as an example. So I'm going to put a little on my finger and just rub it around. Now you want enough to coat it so it's actually got it on there, but you don't want too much because it's just going to end up being a big mess and going on the outside. So just like with the valve, I want to make sure the inside of here is well coated because I brushed this out and cleaned it with my hands, so I want to make sure it's actually clean. So once the grease is on, I'm going to put one slide in one slide and work it in. Then I'm going to take the other one that I haven't worked into anything yet, put it in the other slide that hasn't had anything in it yet, and work that in. That way I'm coating the inside of these slides with grease and the outside of this one, and they're all coated all the way around. Then I'm going to line it up. I'll show you this way so you can see. I'm going to line it up with the slides and then push it in. If you're having trouble getting it in, don't force it. That means you might be a little out of alignment. You just gotta work with it. If you push in too hard, if it gets stuck, it can actually get stuck in the side of this metal casing right here. So be very careful. You just wanna line it up and it should gently go in. So there's that one. You can do that with all your slides. Grease them up, work in one side at a time, and then line it up and push it in so that it's fully greased. Now, all my slides are in. All the valves are in, everything's looped up, it's good to go, and it's completely clean. You want your student to give their trumpet a good cleaning at least once a month. And that's just for sanitary reasons. I mean, this does touch your student's mouth, and you know, things are flowing through it, so it's a good thing to do for sanitary reasons. It's also good because it keeps the instrument playing well. If it's clean and your instrument works well, it's going to make playing for your student that much easier. The last thing I want to talk about is their mouthpiece. Now, I'm kind of a little crazy when it comes to my mouthpiece. I clean mine every day. I play every day, so I clean it every day. And the reason I do is because this touches my mouth, so I do want it to be clean when I play it. So I actually, when I play, whenever I'm done, I take it, and the rim will usually get a little dirty, especially if your student wears chapstick or anything. I take a cloth, I keep one in my case. I actually also have one of these in my purse along with a mouthpiece brush, and I just clean the top rim. Okay, and you'll see that that's clean. After that, it only takes me about a minute every day, less than that. I put it under water, the water runs through it. I take my mouthpiece brush, which is much smaller and tapered. I put it in through the top, and I don't push it in all the way. I don't force it. I'm just kind of trying to clean the top part here. I twist, I reverse out, I run it under some water. Then I flip it, take the mouthpiece brush, twist it in, and you're going to notice it goes in a lot easier this way. You are not trying to push this through, okay? It's not meant to go through. You're just trying to get to see the brush at the top. Then I reverse it out, run it under some water, and my mouthpiece is clean. It's really nice to play with a clean mouthpiece. So I do that every day. I would suggest they do it as often as they can. But yeah, that's how you clean your trumpet. I went really into detail here, but usually it takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to clean my trombone or a trumpet. It really doesn't take long. If you have any questions, just like with anything else, you can email me, you can call me, and I would be more than happy to help.